This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
8:18 now.
Call me to order.
Give it a message.
8:18.
So it's 8:18 on, what's the date today? The 11th. 2018. Call me to order. First item is the approval of the minutes from, what is that, May
May
5th, 14th meeting?
I make the
Is there a
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Invoices.
Okay, we still have a few invoices that we just met on. The first one is Gilbane invoice 38, and the amount is $30,907.
We have to move on to the agenda
Oh, we gotta
first.
add it on the agenda, all right, so we're gonna add Gilbane invoice 38 for $30,907.79. Add Perkins Eastman invoice 49970.13.0-8 in the amount of $1,320. Colliers invoice 21399 in the amount of $774.08. And FSS invoice 12136.
Wait, F what?
FSS, Facility Support Services.
And how much? I'm sorry.
$1,280, and the same vendor, FSS, invoice 12432, in the amount of $80. Do you have a motion to add those to the agenda?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, first one is Gilbane, invoice 38, in the amount of $30,907.79. Is there a motion? We've reviewed these prior to the meeting for everybody that is watching on TV.
Okay, then I'll make a motion. Okay. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perkins Eastman invoice 49970.13.0-8 in the amount of $1,320. There a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Colliers International invoice 21399 in the amount of $774.08. Do you have a motion?
Yes, motion made. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Facility Support Services, invoice 12136 in the amount of $1,280. Is there a motion?
Make a motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Facility Support Services, invoice 12432 in the amount of $80.
Okay, I'll make a motion for that. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's it for invoices.
Just for everybody's information, Facility Support Services, that is their last invoice.
Yeah, those
So
were,
you won't see those in.
Yeah, there's about 8,500 remaining on that budget line item, so we released that to your retainage. Stayed within the budget, which is good news. So,
I don't have anything specific. We had a number of action items that were on the list from the last meeting, but I don't have anything to report on any of those. So I'll just go to the individual reports, and if we have any general discussion we want along the way. Joe's got to leave early, so I'll ask Joe if he has anything to read.
Nothing substantive. We went and looked at the gym floor again. We're having a very difficult time finding somebody, as was suggested at the last meeting, to do forensic research, as it were, on the floor. We had asked whether ABS's logs for the gym were going to be available. I hadn't heard back from you, Phil.
Yeah, they haven't gotten a printout to me yet, but they went through it, and I actually went back through it with one of the guys from it, and it's been consistent. The moisture and temperature levels have been consistent.
with the current, right?
Right.
With the current stuff.
Yeah, I went and one afternoon measured, had a humidistat and so forth, and it was sort of rock solid at 50%, 70 degrees. So I don't think that there's any issues in terms of the actual temperature of the space. The only thing that we can think of is perhaps there was some kind of a reservoir of moisture either beneath the slab or somewhere in the walls. Now that we've closed it up, that the area's conditioned, maybe that's
We
better.
didn't take any moisture readings beforehand when we actually took samples and stuff. All we did was take samples of what was under the floor, concrete-wise, and so we don't really have an idea of what the moisture content was in the beginning.
Right.
So 50% is not low.
No, 50%'s not low.
It's average. And actually, it's supposed to run between 37 and 50.
And
But we don't have a benchmark for what was existing before the new system. That's the hard part, because I would guess it'd probably be higher.
Yeah, it would have been much higher, because
We've sucked all, we basically taken all that out of the,
there's no conditioning in that, was no conditioning basically, for all intents and purposes in that
But
room.
we've got to find somebody that's going to give us some advice on this, and I don't, we have to do that. But I don't know, we'll have to find somebody if we can. You know of anybody, Jeff? Or-
So nobody at Hoffman?
no, Hoffman said this is outside of our
Expertise.
wheelhouse.
So we would get a hardwood floor expert then?
I'm gonna reach back, I reached out to Daleen Flooring, who installs a lot of these as
Yeah.
a contractor, as well as another contractor who installed
Yeah,
a
they-
brand new floor in a new space, it wasn't a.
Yeah, Hamden is, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, they're opening bids on the high school gym floor project they're doing this summer. And I have the pre-bid walkthrough list of who the contractors were. Daleen was on there. There were 3 or 4 contractors that
Yeah, I know, I've
walked
done
through
them a
that,
lot.
so.
There's other ones too that are, you know,
Yeah. No, but we're kind of at a loss. I asked, our head guy in the New York office who he would recommend, and it was the same names, and they, after contacting them, they said, yeah, we can't really help you. When I went and looked at it, the actual cracks between are smaller now than when I first looked at it, so maybe
And
the
it
floor
looks
is
like it
adjusted.
closed up a little bit.
Yeah, so I really don't know, but the exterior wasn't insulated during the last 50 years or 60 years as well. So there's a lot of conditions that we've changed inside the gym. So we've conditioned it, and we know that there's no moisture or condensation that's actually getting to the inside of the gym at this point. Maybe those two are the 2 factors that, swelled the floor during that time, but I don't know.
All right, we've got to get somebody out there, in any case.
well, I got
So-
a reminder for me to follow up with Daleen today.
How do you spell it?
Dalene. They're out of South Windsor, Connecticut. They've done a ton of floors, refinishing of floors, installation of,
If nobody has an objection, and we get quotes from these people, and they're within my limit of emergency spending, I'd like to just have them go ahead and do it rather than wait for the next meeting.
The other thing you could do
Do
is,
what? Like do the
Study.
inspection? Oh,
Study
Yeah.
the-
the other thing you could do is, with Janney, they're a large engineering firm. They do a lot of failure analysis in a lot of different disciplines. They do a lot of material science stuff. I mean, I've used them on, window projects and building envelope projects, but they probably have somebody somewhere in the country that is a wood floor guy.
What are we into the floor for now? How much have we spent on the reconditioning and repainting and polyurethaning as it stands right now? And how much is a new floor?
I think we talked about that last time. I think we took a credit,
170.
160 to 170,000 on the credit for that.
For the new installation.
I want to say the last time, Kerry, I think we were saying around 60,000 for refinishing and repainting, but that's, I'm going off of memory there.
What we spent since
Well,
install?
what's a new floor cost?
It was 2 change, wasn't it?
It was 226,000 was their original bid, which was a replacement of the floor. We took a credit of, we made contract adjustments, I'm just looking at their overall contract right now of $131,000 in credits. So, right now you're into the floor for $125,000.
Is this happening in both gyms?
Yeah, it's consistent in both. If you were to like walk across the end line and just kind of scan all, parallel with the board, you'll see it's very consistent in both gyms. Yeah, surprising.
Unfortunately, hindsight is 20/20.
Well, yes and no. I don't know that there's a guarantee that if a new floor were installed, the same condition would have presented.
Until we know what's causing the
Right.
separation right now, I agree with you. I think that should be the first answer.
But unless it's something under the floor, but I'll say in a new, if we're in a new installation, though, that wood is being put into that space in its conditioned state, so we're allowing it to shrink before we even install it. So once it's installed, it's in its, I'll say, permanent atmospheric condition, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept of, what's it called, climatization, right,
Yeah,
for these
yeah,
hardwood
yeah,
projects, but, and I recognize maybe the probability of that is smaller, but I don't know that you can be certain that new wood wouldn't have had a problem versus our old wood, because that one had the opportunity to climatize as well after it was stripped, I presume, right?
Well, the only difference here, Joe, is that when it was installed originally, 50 years ago or so, it wasn't climatized, so just like we would have done here, it sat and it had a certain moisture content in it, in the relative humidity, and that's what we're assuming, probably consistent over those years, throughout the years. So if it was a certain width being installed and climatized and the humidity was slightly higher, I don't know what it was, we didn't have that benchmark, now you've conditioned it to less humidity, so that's it's gonna shrink, and that's what it's doing in this permanent state.
30 years of urethane probably held it together pretty well.
Then probably some too, so, no, we've had them installed in new floors where it's, and you put, say, every 8 or 9 boards, you'll see an expansion joint, it's maybe 1/8 of an inch. You can see them very distinctly, and that is to give for it to breathe. This, I think, is just the humidity so low, it's not getting that humidity back. I mean, some of those gaps are 3/16, they're pretty wide.
Well, just to clarify, I mean, humidity is normal.
Yeah.
as far as
Sure,
we
you
know.
should have
It was on the
humidity.
high end, didn't you say it was on the high end of normal even?
No.
50%?
No.
Said between 30
The
something and
range is
50?
37 to 50.
Right, then
Yeah,
that's
but
the high
it's-
end, no?
Right now, it's good.
It's actually good. If 50% is where you want to carry. You can carry at 50%. You don't want to go lower than 37%, but 50% is where you'd like to be.
Key thing is it being consistent for that floor within a certain range. If you start, when that floor was in there, I'm only guessing it well above
much
50%, I would guess. Probably 60-70%, if I
You
was
don't
to
know,
guess.
and the
We don't
bigger
know.
problem is the concrete under the floor.
That's what we don't, that's the
And
thing.
the
so
fact that you might not have the
Vapor
proper
barriers.
moisture barriers, vapor barriers under that concrete floor from 60 years ago like they do now.
Well, you can bet that there isn't anything
Yeah.
there, right?
Right, but as I'm saying, if there was some sort of a way that moisture could travel in through the wall, or, you might have had some sort of reserve of moisture that was then sort of dried up by the conditioning.
Yeah, envelopes definitely.
Okay.
Um,
We have to get that expert opinion on this, and then we can make decisions on what we need to do.
I'm gonna reach out internally.
I
with our
emailed you a
project
couple of
team.
names.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll reach out internally with our project team, we have people in New York City that have done this and stuff, so I'll reach out to them and find if they have anybody that they recommend.
There's a guy in Framingham that does a lot of expert witness,
Great.
hardwood floor. There's some certification, right, hardwood floor inspector or something.
Anything else, Joe?
Well, that's it. Do you guys have any questions or anything from?
What about we were talking about the stage? Who's got that update, remember last?
Oh, yeah,
time?
so we
Floor
met
inspector.
last week with Phil and Phil, okay.
Just, anything else for Joe specifically?
No, I didn't know whose was.
Chuck is got.
Okay.
And Karen, well, not Chuck.
Okay.
Anything else architectural, design? Because Joe's got to leave, so it's,
Yeah.
I'm kind of rushing that.
Who reports on that interior sprinkler water leak that we had over the wintertime?
That's ball in my court. I'm trying to get people to the site, it's been a little bit tough to get them there, but I'll get them there.
Okay.
So Joe, you're first.
Awesome. Thank you guys. We'll see you in a month.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Chuck's gonna have the brunt of it tonight, so I'm gonna ask Carrie, is there anything that needs it?
We're down to 3 contractors as, having open items. MJ Daly, Greenwood, they both have change order work to do this summer, adding roof drains into the auditorium. And Civitello has precast sill corrections to do, which we've been working with actually Joe before the summertime is done. They will get in there and get those precast sills. It's a color staining issue. So those are our 3 open items with trade contractors. We received a report from, is it MCOR, your service tech? And we're investigating, some of those issues with RTU2, I believe.
The gym, the calf, there's a few issues on setup, basically, is what they're saying.
Yeah, so Brock Graham, who's our MEP, our in-house MEP sort of guru, he is taking a look through all of our commissioning reports. All of those units were started up by the manufacturer. They were not started up by MJ Daly, so we have all of our startup reports associated with those as a benchmark of when the units were turned on and turned over. So
My question is and some of the things that they were finding MCOR when they were actually there just to do regular maintenance, filters and so forth, they were finding units that weren't functioning correctly. So further research, and I told them, well, just go through it, see what the problem is. And they called the factory themselves, and the factory was telling them that they weren't set up right to begin with. So now, if you're telling me the factory came out and did the setup,
yeah, it was all of our
What
startup
are these
reports
units? Of what?
are rooftop
sitting
units.
sitting over the music room,
What are they?
HVAC.
The air handling units.
That makes sense. I'm hearing that there's some problem with that in the music room area.
Oh, I don't know how you hear that. So,
Also in the calf,
Write that down, Joe.
and hit intermittently in the gym. So, those are areas, and I asked them to write me a report, and that was part of what I sent you.
my question for you is there further information coming? Is that all that we have?
I'll find out. I know they were there again Friday, I was off Friday.
So it was pretty limited to just that one RTU. So we'll take a look through that, and I believe also Chuck, DTC has reviewed the information and had sort of minimal comments on it.
Yeah, just in general, Joe, is MCOR making any adjustments to these units, or are they just reporting what they're seeing?
I'm making them adjust whatever they need to adjust to get the units up running correctly.
Okay, what I would recommend is make sure they document extremely, because they haven't been on the project.
Right.
And I don't know what they reviewed for.
Well, here's the thing, I've got work reports from every day that they're there and what they've done while they were there. So, there's, I forget which unit it is off the top of my head, but there's a bearings problem in a motor.
Yeah.
That was 2, I believe,
That was
unit
it 2,
2.
Yep.
which is the
Yeah.
one we've been having.
That's a
problems
warranty
with.
issue then.
Yeah.
That's certainly a warranty issue.
And we've been having problems with that from the beginning. That's the one over the music room, correct?
I believe
RTU2,
so. It's over in that area.
which is the one that's,
So-
How can you have bearing issues this
shouldn't have bearing issues.
I mean, they should be thousands of hours.
And we've got cycling issues where motors are cycling too quickly or not enough high head, a lot of them are.
Well, here's my
jumping
concern
over
with that,
high
if
head
they're making
pressure.
adjustments.
Messing
I don't want them
with
releasing
manufacturer's warranty.
MJ Daly from something they owe.
Correct.
Let's get MJ Daly on site and look at
Really,
it right away.
MJ Daly, seeing
What-
them on site is like,
Well, it could be a manufacturing issue.
It could be
too.
Could be a
manufactured, it
manufacturing
could be them.
issue, it could be a
any
design issue,
adjustments,
like we
any
have
adjustments they're
to
making,
go
they're
through the
making
proper
through
channels with
the
commissioning.
manufacturer. So they're calling the manufacturer if they believe something needs to be adjusted, so they're getting their information from the manufacturer. I have little to no faith in MJ Daly coming out and fixing anything.
No argument there. My only concern is if it's a project related, regardless of where it lies within the project
Right.
versus the district, if you guys modify something, I don't wanna see you put yourselves at risk of not having warranty or follow-up down the road and they go, you guys made adjustments and didn't notify us, cause it's gonna be in all their warranty language.
Right.
I wouldn't want to see you guys carrying a bill for it. That's my only
Well-
concern. I understand there's an urgency to get it done and get it
Exactly,
fixed.
that's my problem. And if we don't fix some of these things, it might,
Exacerbate an issue.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
100% on board. I just want to make sure we're, the team and we're responding to it and getting it resolved. So that's my only concern.
Yeah, I'm just, again, I've lost total faith in MJ Daly.
Understood.
Anything.
We're still holding a significant amount from the.
Yes.
Over $500,000 we're
Yep.
holding on MJ Daly.
We do have, the ability and the leverage to, through the fact that we haven't final paid them.
Yeah,
And
that's-
being so close to commissioning, the commissioning effort that went forward, like, these issues aren't identified on the commissioning report, so.
Which is another thing that worries me, is why they're not on the commission report. How did we get all this equipment commissioned and signed off on if the factory's telling us some of these things aren't set correctly, weren't set correctly from the beginning, yet our commission reports are going through and I'm not seeing
Did
nothing.
we get anything from the manufacturer? Because this is what is gonna happen in many jobs, is we're gonna hear, they told us X, Y, Z, but if we don't have a report from the manufacturer that says they're out and they've certified, okay, these issues, the sets are wrong, whatever it may be, it's hard to go back to the project team and go, listen, this wasn't set up correctly. And the question is, it from the project team, was it from the, who was responsible for the setup? Because there's a lot of people touching these units. So, if we can get that from
You
them.
had ABS, you had our group doing the
Sure,
commissioning.
yeah, BVH, a lot of people
Yeah.
looking at it, and,
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
but if the manufacturer's making a statement, it'd be helpful to get that in writing, so we have that and go, why wasn't it set up
I
correctly?
will get that.
Especially seeing as the units were started up by manufacturers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something's not
Look,
that.
the bottom line is,
If there's an.
all this stuff is covered by contract.
Exactly.
Okay?
Absolutely.
We have a contract with Gilbane, Gilbane has a subcontract with MJ Daly. So if there's problems with systems, there are contractual remedies, and if MJ Daly doesn't do what they're supposed to do within the time period that they're required to do it, and the notice that Gilbane sends under the subcontract, then there's the ability to back charge them for people like MCOR coming in and doing things. So we can't just say, they're not gonna do it, so we're gonna go have somebody else do it, because in addition to the fact that it costs money to have somebody else do it, it jeopardizes potentially bigger issues down the road.
I had them hold off on changing out motors and stuff like that. I mean, I told them to wait on that because I figured that would have been an issue, but
Yes.
adjustments and stuff to some of the equipment that could be made, I told them to do them because I, again, need to keep the rooms.
Yeah, look, they're a major contractor, they're very competent, I don't have any
Yeah.
questions
Oh,
about
absolutely.
MCOR, it's
Yeah.
just that not letting MJ Daly off the hook.
It's the contractual
Sure.
part of it, really, is bigger than anything else.
No, I mean, MJ Daly's last word to me was, we're not responsible anymore, there's no warranties on anything anymore. It says,
Well, I think we got some retainage that says otherwise.
well,
I mean,
As well as some
that's-
warranty
but that's their
documents.
position.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Is
got
that-
contractual
is that,
documents
you
that,
know, Your year's up.
what they say there, that doesn't matter.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
the warranty is
No,
not
no,
an
no.
exclusive remedy under our contract.
work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So just to clarify, Jeff, from a legal perspective, Gilbane is responsible for this.
Sure.
If you have issues, it's through Gilbane,
sure,
Yes.
not Daly.
absolutely right.
Yeah, that's our, you only have one contract, and that's with Gilbane.
Yeah.
Sub after that is up to them, so.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else, Karen?
That is it, I believe.
Who covers the line painting? Is that Chuck too? Remember I
Yeah.
brought that up in the circle, is that you,
Yeah.
Chuck?
Yeah, the,
Okay, just making sure.
yeah.
Curbs.
Curbs.
Oh, the curb, oh, yeah, so that's
Yeah,
interesting.
the
So
peeling of the
So the
paint
curbing,
after.
I just was at the school
Line
we finished last fall, and we painted their curbs red. The same exact thing has happened, it's the same exact condition, that it's gonna continue to peel. Unless we do something very aggressive with the curb, that it's being, I don't wanna say stained, but penetrating into the concrete because of the finish of the concrete so smooth, it is going to continue to peel.
You gotta grind it.
You gotta either sandblast it, so you etch it, so they can, and find a paint that really gets in there, but when you're plowing, it's subject to abuse, it's subject to the wear and tear. It's gonna be a yearly maintenance issue to paint that. It's
Well,
not
Phil
gonna be
doesn't have
forever.
money for that.
I just think to set the expectation that it's not gonna occur again in the future would be setting the wrong expectation for you.
Well, why are we saying that now when when I brought it up in whatever, the winter, it was like, oh, but it's probably the condition of when we did it and the timing, cause
It's wear and tear. I mean, you have plows and
wear and
tires
tear,
going
I
up.
mean, if you, well,
Well, the thing
maybe
is, I don't
because it's
get it, I don't get it
new.
at the high school. Doesn't peel off, doesn't chip off.
Right, that's what I'm
It-
saying,
it
so what
wears
is it,
off.
older,
But
yeah.
it doesn't chip off, and that's because.
I mean, the whole thing was like a big clump.
that's
What
because-
month was it
that's 'cause of the
redone? What
finish.
month was it
Again, Chuck's right,
repainted?
it's the finish that was put on it.
It had
It's
to
just
have
not
been
inherent
painted
to
in
it.
spring, summer.
It wasn't originally intended to be painted. If had it been, ideally, I'm not saying it would have
Well,
happened.
why wouldn't we have done that? It's a fire lane.
It's not a requirement. You don't have to paint the curbs.
Well,
Usually you'll do a line on the concrete.
By our fire marshal, he
He requires it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he requires it, but it wasn't in the original contract to do so. You know, in hindsight, you'd say, hey, etch it and prep it so that we're gonna do the final paint. I think that was an afterthought when we were going through and doing the site review. So, to get this to last longer, I think we have to strip it and sandblast it so it's got some grit to it, so that the paint can stick to it. Right now, it can't stick. You could take a putty knife and scrape that right off.
Yeah.
It's such a smooth, so it's like painting glass. You can just scrape it right off and it won't stick, so.
so people.
But yeah, we had a similar condition at other school, and I was,
Yeah, but
you know, it was the
those
same
people will
casting
just
method
see,
as
oh,
well.
there's no yellow, so we'll park here.
Yeah.
They do it there.
They don't, they park there anyway.
I know they
Even with
do.
the yellow,
Do we
doesn't
have
matter.
it- do we have it on the
But
pavement?
still, we pay, I mean, we had something done, we paid for it,
I
and
know.
it's a waste of money, basically.
It's better to have it on the pavement if you paint it just right next to the curb, right on the pavement.
Well, that's
yellow
an idea,
line.
too.
That's a
That's a good
more
idea.
permanent fix. We've done that before, not correctly.
What about rubber? Can you put like, I've seen like rubber, can you do something with rubber along the edge, or is that gonna just get all
I think you
chewed up
they
too?
could beat it up.
I think
Carl,
that's-
the plows will rip
I
that
think
right
that is the answer though. Instead of painting the curb, we'll do the line,
Good
do
idea.
the line on the
He's come
pavement.
off 6 inches and it's there and it's.
So what has to do with
Fire marshal has to accept that.
No, he will. He accepts it at the other schools.
Oh, okay.
Tiny issues.
So that's now becomes Phil's issue.
No,
Yeah, probably.
Do you want us to?
We can do it under the project and we'll just use this.
Yeah, because I mean, I have painting, I have painting at the high school this summer, I have lots to do, like,
all right, so.
a lot of stuff to do.
As long as
So
we
is
do
Phil gonna do
something.
it?
It's not get done.
Yeah, it has
You're
to
gonna
be
do
done.
it? You want us to?
If I have to, I mean, if
Hey,
you guys.
they're saying
if we
they
have-
could do it through the
then
project,
do it through
so-
the
Let him
project.
do the project. Give
Wherever it
us,
is a yellow curb, put a yellow line on the pavement.
Just do the entire site that way, where there's yellow curb, just
yeah,
bring it around the pavement.
We'll just
Alright.
paint the whole area yellow?
Yeah, but what do you do now
Follow
with
the
the
yellow
crumbling
curve.
portion of it?
sweep it up.
Do you take it off? What do? You leave it as is?
It'll come off
It's
itself.
coming, it's coming.
But my point is, it doesn't look very nice. So do we, I mean, is that something like if you took a pressure washer that it would all come off? Or is it more, need to be more aggressive than that? I mean, it seems like it's just,
Probably get a
Are we
lot
gonna
of it
spend
off.
money to do this?
But you're gonna swap?
Are we gonna spend money to do this?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you will. You wanna spend the money on it?
well, you said you have to have
Can
the
you just get a
line.
kid- you have to.
Kid with a roller once a year to go around the curb
art class?
in art class?
I love how you guys do that.
All right. Carrie, anything else? Or anything else for Carrie?
Anything else for me?
Chuck?
Alright, so it's that, we met last, I think Monday or Tuesday, with Phil and Phil. And, just talk about, it, you know, there's been a lot of, I think, issues come up of stage issues elsewhere, we wanna talk to Phil directly. Is there any other issues that we're not hearing about through him? I think we didn't really hear many issues, I mean, the stage, what we're gonna do is the contractor that's, on the state contract that's doing the millwork and the shelves in the prep rooms, which they'll do once school's out. We're gonna ask them to give us a quote to install plywood.
Quarter and JC finish.
Yeah.
Just like the high school has.
Yeah, sacrificial surface, but it's gonna be smooth, glued and screwed down to the existing stage and clean that up, make it safer.
Right on.
Have them do it while they're here this summer.
So as soon as we get that quote, we'll, you know.
Look
Should
at
have
that.
done to begin with.
Yeah.
There are a couple items I gotta follow up, I think Gary sent an email, a couple of small follow-up items. There's some, we noticed some grout issues, like in the main lobby, there's some grout lines that are coming apart, like in between some of the tile that needs to be touched up.
Go back to the auditorium if you
Go
will
ahead.
for a minute.
Sure.
Did the railing, as you enter,
From
go up to the
right-hand
stage,
I think that's
has that
considered-
been fixed?
We
Yeah.
think so.
Did they fix where the paint didn't match on the floor, where they ripped up the rug, where the risers were? Is that finally?
That's in our court for the summer to get a price to, we have to basically re-primer and repaint that surface, but
Okay, so that's still,
that was the change order to begin with, so.
so that, it has to be reprimed and painted.
Where did
That's
the
only in that
lighting-
one area, right?
Yeah,
Where did the lighting land?
Yeah, so, I reached out to, Holzner Electric, they were on state contract. They just got off of it because they have to be a small business set aside and they lost that certification, but he did price it up, for me. He says, I'll do some, ballpark pricing. He was budgeting about 42 to 50,000 for that work, which, yeah, I told him, I said, we can't go on state contract, so he was just doing us a favor because he worked with us on other projects. He says, I'd ballpark 42 to 50 in that, Gary
What
advised.
part is the favor?
Just helping me price it, just giving us a temperature, we had a number from
Free
Gilbane, which we had
pricing.
said we were like, free pricing,
I
yes,
sense
sorry about that.
sarcasm that Chuck didn't also sense.
Basically just a temperature of, what Gilbane gave, I think it was around 60,000 for the change order, if I ever remember, through Ed Moore. So it's not too far off, given the markups and everything. So Gary, I've sent Gary, you're gonna send it to,
Did you send it Friday?
yeah, so you didn't have it. The Boltons, to price up, I guess there's a local electrician contractor that.
Well, the town has a contracting company that has a company that they contract with for various services, so they're gonna give us a quote on that. Do you deal with them, Phil?
yeah. Dave?
Hmm?
Dave?
Hmm.
If you want, I can walk through. Do we have a spec on the product?
Yeah, what I'll do is
Yeah.
I'll forward the email I sent to Gary, I might have copied you, I'll send it to you with the two Boltons that we gave to Gilbane to install those, so.
What about, what was the status of the egress lighting or what in this?
That's what we're.
That's
That's
what-
the egress
That's
lighting?
incorrect,
What-
yes.
All right, what
Yeah,
about
we
the
were at
doors?
58,000, so.
Yeah, so it's not too much, I mean, with markups in the project,
So the 20,000.
Ed Moore's was 46 of it.
so it's right there. There it is.
So we gotta get in there and remove those strips from those auditorium doors too. Diameter.
The
Yeah,
asteroids.
yep, the doors.
I don't know who does
Do
that.
do you just wanna have, is it Giordano that's coming in for, who's doing that Giordano?
Oh, gee, we
G.
can, I
Donovan.
can have them get rid of that, I mean, if we wanna do that.
If they have carpenters right in the auditorium doing the
I
stage.
got a health inspection walkthrough. You got any more questions for me?
The only thing, the vestibule, we have to, a couple things, yeah. Number one, the vestibule, but also what concerned me walking through last week is we're seeing that edge strip off those stairs off of there.
Yeah, I don't know how.
And that loose railing.
I know.
Some,
There's a nut that came off the loose railing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going up
look
the
at
main
that.
set of
Going up
stairs.
The main set of stairs.
the rail, I'll send you the picture, I'll
Yeah,
send
there's
you the
two,
photos.
there's two lags that are in the floor on the bottom, and the whole nut on one side is gone. It's not stripped, not ripped, it's just not even there.
That's odd.
I don't know if they took it off, I don't think, they didn't have to take it off and
No.
paint it, I don't think. And then there's an edging on the second stair.
The nosing, there's a couple of
It's a
them.
nosing that it just coming, going right off. I don't know what holds it.
Those tile stairs.
Hmm?
Are those tiles?
the main stairs, the ceramic,
No, there's a threshold,
There's a there's a vinyl.
there's a
strip.
nosing piece that's,
I don't even know.
That's
if-
vinyl.
I don't know. if
I'll
it's
send you the
vinyl.
photo, I got the photos of it, so.
Okay.
I don't know if it's vinyl.
Yeah, there's that, couple tiles in that rear vestibule that we were looking at where we had the control valve where,
Yeah, that was,
Parts you
MJ
use.
Daly never put the,
well, they gotta come back and do that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can-
they never put the tiles back in the ceiling.
Yeah,
And that front vestibule,
that's Paul, my court.
Yeah, that's,
yeah.
Too.
And, you know, what Phil and I were saying, you know, I think we should just repair it, fix that sprinkler head if it isn't already, and put some venting in there, let some of that heat get up into that space.
Can't hurt,
No, can't hurt.
can't hurt. Doesn't make any sense why we don't have venting up there with that heat, but it doesn't do anything else except sit at that ceiling. So you might as well use it and condition that space above. Even if it changes it 10 degrees, 5 degrees, it'll make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So who's doing that work?
Well, we would need to, I would recommend that, well, Perkins doesn't feel it's necessary, which I know our stance on that.
Because it radiant heats right through the sheetrock.
Yeah, and I concur with you, Phil.
Well, it's not, it's outside your contract.
It's out there, it's outside their scope.
So,
It's just a matter of what exactly you put in there. It becomes, we put it in there, and if something doesn't work, nobody's gonna really be responsible, so you put a couple vents in there. That's my only concern, is that we can put them in there. If come next winter, something happens again, we're like, well, who put the vents in and who designed that? If the designer doesn't design it, nobody's gonna be responsible for that, it's just, we think.
But now we can't
Nobody's
even prove who's
responsible for it now,
responsible for what
so-
happened.
I understand, so it's
What are
like,
you damned if you do, you're damned if you
we
don't.
can get a quote to put in vents, I just wanna be clear upfront about it, so that we can have a contract, say, put in a 24 by 24.
All these months, nobody could determine what
Vent.
caused it. Was it something, you know, did they hit the, you know, the sprinkler or
That's
we
the
kind of.
problem. We just can't figure that out. There's-
So even if you do something to fix it, could it happen again? Yeah, because if that wasn't what it was, right? I mean, but we
Yeah,
can't
understood.
leave
I
it a
just-
mess.
We talk about it, and it's
Yeah.
months later, and we go, well, what happened? I just wanna make sure we're on the same page.
It doesn't sound
That's
like we're gonna ever
Figure it out.
figure out what happened, so I guess we have to clean up and move on, right?
Well, that's why we're saying add the venting,
Yeah.
so that at least
Try
we
it.
use the heat.
Right.
And
It's
if it changes,
logical.
and
It's
if-
right, it's logical.
It's just
all you
logical.
gotta-
I mean, I'm not an engineer.
But you're saying like in the future, if we found somebody who might have realized what the problem was, then they would say you can't go back to the original people because then you added this venting?
I'm not saying
or
that,
no?
I'm not saying
Okay.
that, I'm just saying that we're just gonna put the venting in.
Well, we
It's
gotta
what
do it
think will work.
before,
It's empirical, for lack of a better term.
yeah, the summer, we need to close.
Yeah.
Hey, Phil, is that sprinkler head operable?
No.
Okay, so that has to be
That's
repaired.
okay.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
Alright, so when we, I suggest we get it fixed under the project, I would, that's what I would recommend, I don't know.
We can have the contractor to fix it.
I think we should just have the contract project do it, and,
Well, it's easier for everybody except Carrie, so.
well, yeah. Well, that's what we're here for.
Not a problem, I'm just
We've
gonna
made this-
delegate it.
we've made this project way too easy for Carrie for all these years.
I've already got the email typed to the person who's actually gonna do it.
Alright, so.
All right, so
Did we look to
got
see if
that.
there was cold coming in from the outside now?
Chuck,
Is there
what else you
an
got?
exterior envelope issue?
That can be done, like,
So,
I have to go.
and we got the thermal camera out there, the cold snap, and there wasn't enough differential between inside and outside. We went out there with our thermal camera,
no,
didn't
but
see
this can
any
now take
real,
months to get.
we didn't see anything, but there was no driving cold
yeah, throughout
the day that we had the camera out there.
Yeah, that's.
See,
But the
to
sprinkler
me,
head
I would think
condition.
that would be like one
Close
of
to
those
it.
emergency things that you.
Right now, we
fortunately,
wouldn't
don't
get
have
it.
It's hard to like
a
set a reminder in
sprinkler
your
head right
calendar
at the front,
for like the
for
first
the
cold
first
snap to get out there with the camera, you know? But
Well, right.
I'll like put a reminder for December 1st on my calendar so that it's like fresh in my mind. Come December 1st, because we all know how
Alright,
fresh my
anything
mind
else?
is in December.
Just financially,
We
we're
have a camera.
showing about $258,000.
When there's a differential between indoor and outdoor.
We met last month with Carrie and Gary and Jeff, and projecting potential CM contingency return, and it's around 330 plus or minus. That's gonna come down a little bit with some of the work we're talking about, so.
What was 330 plus or minus?
The estimated ballpark CM contingency return?
That is not already recognized, so it's.
That's
gonna be
correct.
additional.
Yeah, so if you had,
So maybe the track.
say 300, you know, conservative after these, around, 550, mid 550 range. We could cross the Ts and dot the Is.
So we might be able to do the track. Or something, maybe?
It depends what happens with the gym.
Right, well, right.
That's a question of your,
Right.
yeah, you guys set a priority, what you wanna do, so. The thing with the gym, what I'm Just looking at timing, you know, we're at June 11th now. When we do that, you have 2 gyms, so the good thing is you can
We do one, didn't you?
They're
do
probably
one to the
outside
other.
now anyway.
Yeah, so,
That's not again, that's not, it's something that if you think that if you repaired where it's splitting and the warping, you think that the same thing is gonna happen again because of this moisture
you mean with the
issue?
new floor?
What we currently, have in the gym.
That's hard to say, without seeing under, I
Yeah,
think
you're never
this,
gonna
your
see
slab
under
is the
unless you're gonna put the
biggest
whole thing, right?
unknown.
Well, we have
Yes,
to get
know
the
the walls
expert.
and the
You
ceiling.
gotta get an
condition.
expert,
So-
like, as soon
Give
as
us an opinion
possible.
on that.
Yeah, I
We're
wouldn't
talking
wanna
about it for
opine on
months.
that,
We
so.
gotta find someone.
I think it's important when they're looking at the gym floor, they don't forget about the complaints of smell. You know, is there something else they can look at to try to identify where this odor comes from?
Yeah, it could be when you take
It's
it
not
up
just
and
moisture.
you look at
Yeah,
the floor and
exactly.
it,
There's a lot of people
Don't be
that have that
surprised if it's really
complaint,
dark
so.
there, so.
Yeah,
keep
moisture.
that
Could all be
in mind.
related to
Moisture
the
and
floor.
smell.
Exactly. Well, as long as the inspector keeps that in mind, maybe you can get an answer.
Okay, so, anything else? Next meeting, July 9th. In the meantime, with the studies and we have vestibule work, I may have to use some emergency spending authorization, so I'll just keep everybody informed if that happens. And if we go over my limit, I'll be talking to Diane, so.
He'll be texting me.
For the record, I won't be here that day, so we better make sure you have a quorum. I know in advance.
So that's the bag, okay, good.
You will be.
No,
You're not here on the 9th?
no, my wife's having a baby on that day, so.
Oh, wow.
You would be
That's why
so
I better not be here.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Good for you.
Need what's the week after? 16th, you back?
I won't be there.
You're not
that
back
day,
on the
no. I
16th.
won't be. Don't go by me, but I won't be there that day either.
Well, let's play by ear. Mike Brandt
Yeah, we need Mike Brandt.
texted me saying that he had some work in the office, but he could be here if we needed him for a quorum, so
Well,
fortunately
he
we
needs to
didn't.
be, yeah, we need him for that one.
All right, motion to adjourn,
Make a motion.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks.
you're never gonna get opposition on that.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.